Welcome everyone, welcome. As you come in, I just want to welcome you to the second in our suite of World of Work events, this being our second resume writing session, targeting our STEM students, that's science, technology, engineering, and math. But if you're not in those faculties, please stay in, because there'll be a lot of important information, a lot of information that you would gain that's going to help you to design that winning resume, that resume that's going to help you stand out. Now for today's session, you students, get ready, buckle up. We have Ms. Tahira Kerr. She's an HR generalist at Point Lisas Nitrogen Limited. Tahira's core areas of focus include recruitment, training and development, and performance management. Tahira holds a Bachelor of Science in Psychology and a Master's in Human Resource Management with distinction. With over 10 years experience in the human resource management in the energy sector, Tahira brings a unique skill set of strengths to the table, including recruitment, spanning across all levels of the organization. She's responsible for the various training programs at Point Lisas Nitrogen Limited, hint, hint, guys, and is actively involved in the recruitment for these programs. So as we said, we bring these people to you guys. They're going to say they would give you the tea. So listen up as Tahira gives you these tools and skills you would need for the winning resume. And of course, feel free to ask all the questions you need answered in this session. So without further ado, I would like to turn you over to Tahira.
So hello, I'm Tahira Kerr. Thank you for having me. I'm the HR journalist at Point Lisas Nitrogen Limited. One of my core areas includes recruitment. So I deal with a large number of resumes on a quite regular basis. So here's a little bit about Point Lisas Nitrogen Limited. We are located on the Point Lisas Industrial Estate. We're a joint venture company, jointly owned by Koch Industries as well as CF Industries. On a daily basis, we produce about 2,000 metric tons of ammonia. Our current president is Mr. Fitzroy Gilman. I'm going to discuss 3 key areas today, including a step approach to structuring your resume, strategies to ensure that your resume is targeted, and of course, mistakes to avoid. So before we start, I have a poll question for you. Please click on your screen to answer. Before you start your resume, what should you do first? Look for keywords, review example resumes, use professional font, understand what the recruiter is looking for. Okay, so you are correct. Overwhelming amount of you, 66%, would have said understand what the recruiter is looking for. And this is very important. It is important that you first try to understand what the recruiter is looking for. This will frame your perspective to write to the needs of the recruiter, including education, achievements, date of employment, companies worked for, and related work responsibilities. Firstly, let's talk about structuring your resume. How long should your resume be? We start the resume length. The one-page rule comes from preventing your resume from being overly long. The focus is always quality over quantity. You need your resume to convey the most important information to the employer without being long-winded, keeping in mind that they're scanning anyway, and of course, keeping it aesthetically pleasing. I really want to place emphasis on understanding what recruiters are looking for. What you think recruiters are looking for and what they're actually looking for are two completely different things. One writer says you should assume that the employer's world is like a foreign country. You must learn their language, their customs before you visit. You must now start to think like an employer. In other words, adapt to the employer's preferences. You want the job market is like a high-end game. The employer regards it as an elimination game. Until the last phase, companies are looking through stacks and stacks of resumes on their desks with a view of who can we eliminate and who meets the criteria. The best resumes, of course, are left standing. So we encourage you to please focus on simplicity. We only take about less than 10 seconds to really review your resumes because we're getting literally thousands of resumes. You state what is requested. If you are applying for an ad, it is very important you read the ad and state what is requested by the recruiter. And use keywords within your resume to really stand out. So we'll start really detailing now on the resume. So the chronological resume is the most common type of resumes that is used at the start of your career. This type of resume is used when you have an education and experience that really complement the position you are looking to get hired for. It starts with the most recent first. With resumes, there is no one size fits all when it comes to resume writing. There is some flexibility in this regard. However, the top 3 areas should stay in the same order. So the name, contact information, your profile, education. As you develop further into your career, you can slightly change to move work experience above education. So then it would read contact information, profile, work experience, and then education. The contact information should be at the top of your resume. Of course, first name, last name, address, a working contact number, and an appropriate voice message. So when you're setting your voice message or your voice message greeting, please keep in mind that recruiters could call and leave messages for you. So keep it as professional as you can. A professional email address. So usually your first name, last name, and a number. Nothing like Gaza, lady, sexy lips, nothing like that, please. If you're thinking of including a LinkedIn link, I recommend that you use a custom link with your name at the end. However, it's not mandatory to include the LinkedIn URL. Okay, so another poll question, which should you include in your resume? Profile or objective statement? Okay, it looks like most of you would have said objective statement. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into this. Yes, your resume should start with a profile or objective statement, but we're going to dig a lot deeper, right? So just to understand a profile, it's a concise summary of your professional experience and relevant skills that makes you ideal for the job. It's usually 2 to 4 sentences, and it captures what the employer is looking for. An example, recent mechanical engineering graduate that is a critical thinker with some experience in the energy industry. Open to learning, will thrive in fast-paced, safety-focused environments. While an objective is communicates the applicant's intention. So this is usually looking for employment. Length, it's usually 1 sentence, and it captures from the applicant's perspective what the applicant is looking for. An example, to acquire a challenging graduate engineer position, which would stimulate both my intellectual and creative abilities while providing a medium for career growth. Put simply, the profile is from the perspective of the employer, while the objective is from the perspective of the individual. I often get persons labeling profile, but it's really an objective statement that they would have included. A profile is more of a summary of your entire resume in 2 to 3 sentences or 2 to 4 sentences in this area. So a key point, before I move to the next slide, a key point to remember is focus on the perspective from the employer, right? So this is why the profile is recommended at the top of your resume as opposed to the objective statement. So this is a summary statement of your key skills and attributes that makes you best fit for the job. This highlights the employer why they should hire you. Employers read this first in the first 3 seconds of having your resume in hand. So it should be well written to make you stand out. The profile is used in lieu of the objective statement, which has become outdated. The profile should include a combination of your education, experience, key skills, and values. It must be concise, clear, and highlight your skills that makes you best suited for the job. Here's an example. Recent graduate of the University of the West Indies in mechanical engineering with a passion for troubleshooting and critical thinking. Gain experience as a vacation intern in the energy sector to enhance technical knowledge in turbo machinery and non-destructive testing. Dynamic performer with a strong work ethic, collaborative spirit, and a passion for a challenge. Now, this example, key points to remember when building your profile. This was also present in the same profile that I just covered. So it spoke about your education, their key expertise, if they had any experience, their skill set and values. So where they would thrive, an environment in which they would thrive. This allows the recruiter to quickly see your key skills before moving on further to your resume. So moving to the next section, it's education. This is a key area that will be reviewed immediately after your profile. The education section should include all academic qualifications, with the most recent qualification first. So this is important. So when you finish your first degree and you move on to your master's, you put your master's above, right? So it's very important that you have it in reverse chronological order, most recent first. If you are responding to an ad, then your resume should include any specific requests, example, GPA. So here's an example of how you capture the education section. It must be properly formatted, of course. You must capture the degree, graduation year, school, and as I would have mentioned, any specific requests. The work experience section, similar to the education section, must be in reverse chronological order, with the most recent first. The following must be clearly: company, position, start month and year, end month and year, responsibility, and achievements. Keep all formatting consistent when writing your work experience. The tense used is past tense, except for if it's your current position. Your responsibilities and achievements should start with a verb. So here, these are just some examples. There's an infinite amount of verbs that you can use, but these are some of the most popular ones. So if it's a project you would have been working on: initiated, designed, formulated, implemented. If you saved money on, or you worked on something that would have saved money, projected saving, estimated, forecasted, reconcile. So these are some that you can use to develop your responsibilities on your resume. Your resume should tell a clear story about your experience at an organization. The responsibilities must be used to show why you are an ideal match for the job. As a trainee, it will be very difficult. However, if you can illustrate with quantified numbers for your results, it would also propel your resume further. However, as someone just entering the world of work, throughout your resume, use numbers and percentages if you can. It draws the person's attention to it and it makes it more effective. An example of responsibilities in the past, using the past tense and a verb, would be supported in troubleshooting, so supported in troubleshooting of turbo machinery, such as pumps, thereby gain an enhanced understanding of clearances and bearing types. Another example, developed a cost estimate template that was successfully used to project budget estimations. The training and development section covers any short courses that you would have done. This is usually, example, project management, first aid. It will be non-academic, but short courses, so usually a few weeks to complete. You include it in the section, separate from your education section. Next, we have these sections aren't required, but can be used when appropriate. So you could use any one of these if you have space, of course. It shows some human element, what you care about outside of work. So examples would be if you receive any awards, community development, volunteer or charity work, affiliations, membership in professional associations. The final section, computer skills. This section should include the level of your ability for all software programs that is applicable to the company that you're applying for. So on this slide, I just have some examples for a young engineer coming out. These would be some of the software skills, if you have any of these, and of course you include what level. For most organizations, or perhaps all, you'd include your level for MS Office as well. Formatting your resume is also very important. Format. Font size 10.5 to 12. Anything less than 10.5 is very difficult to read, while large fonts can create wasted space. Font type, the most popular is perhaps Arial and Garamond. Bold titles. So you should have section breaks with bold titles so that the reader can easily scan to sections within your resume. And of course, consistent formatting. When saving your resume, remember that your resume will be placed in a folder with hundreds of other resumes. So if you have perhaps just a resume, there'll be a conflict in the folder because it'll be multiple files stored as resume, right? So you want to change the format in which you save your file. So name your file so that it can easily found. So if recruiter does a search in that folder just for your name, they can easily find it. At minimum, it should include your first name, last name, resume. And the file should be saved as a Word, a Microsoft Word file, or a PDF. If you're using a Mac, please do not save it as a pages document. Most, or if not all, recruiters will not be able to open it. Final poll question. So we've covered the resume or the parts of the resume. So once you've created this file, should you save it and now use the same resume to apply to all jobs? True or false? So 76% of you said false, and you are correct. You should not use one resume file to apply to all jobs, and we'll cover that now. Strategies to ensure that the resume is targeted. How to find the right keywords. So for each application, you're going to use the right keywords for that job. Indeed defines resume keywords as specific abilities, skills, and expertise that recruiters look for in applications. These keywords are job-related nouns. Combining action verbs and key phrases are ideal elements that the recruiter will be scanning for. Keywords are specific or job industry specific. They can either be behavioral or technical. To find these keywords, you can use the company's website or job posting. So if you're looking at an ad to send your resume, within the ad, there'll be several keywords that you should also include in your resume. Here's an example of an ad that Point Research Nitrogen would use to post. So I've underlined several of the keywords that you should also include in your resume: interpersonal skills, ethical standards, ability to work in cross-functional teams. Teamwork usually comes up quite a lot. Ability to multitask and dynamic results oriented. In a dynamic results oriented environment. That phrase could actually be used in your profile. Ability to work in confined space and working on heights. Ability to communicate effectively. And of course, I would have mentioned the computer skills. Similarly, if you go to our website, quite prominent, you would see a lot of information on the environment, safety, and as well as developing the community. So remember that other section, you can include there some kind of community work, volunteer work that you would have been working on. This would really help, as well as you could include areas for importance of the environment and importance of safe work. So this brings me to the final section for the presentation, mistakes to avoid. Avoid using the following on your resume: photo headshot. So oftentimes we receive resumes with a photo on it. It is not necessary. Please do not include it. Please do not include your date of birth. This is not needed. Your relationship status, that being married or single, please, that is not needed on your resume. Acronyms that the recruiter is not familiar with, it's to your disadvantage. So it's better that they can easily read and understand your resume. Graphics, hard to read fonts, typos, even including the line references upon request. This is not needed, and it's understood within the industry that once we ask you for a reference, you would provide it for us. Ensure that your contact information is correct and that you regularly check your email account. Make sure your voicemail greeting is pleasant and professional. Avoid the cookie cutter approach. That is having one resume and sending it to all companies that you're applying to. Be honest on your resume. Do not place any roles, responsibilities, achievements, projects that you're not able to develop further if you're called for an interview. Also, it's important, an important mistake to avoid is to pay attention to the ad. Again, I would have mentioned this previously, but really read the ad and follow the instructions and any specific requests included on the ad. So here is an example. Again, it's the same ad that I would have earlier. 90% of applicants do not read the entire ad and only read the qualification. This means only 10% of applications understand that for ads like this, we receive over 600 applications, and in some instances, we receive over 1,000. So we encourage you to follow the guidelines to give yourself the best chance to move forward to the interview phase. Follow the guidelines. So in this instance, we would have placed a minimum GPA, and therefore it is important that you include on your application what GPA it is. So this is only needed if the ad specifically requests this, right? Make changes and customize your resume to give yourself the best opportunity. So just to recap and as a reminder, right? Simplicity. Keep your resume simple. The recruiter is only going to use about 10 minutes to scan through your resume to check your education, key skills, whether you did any vacation internships. You must have what is stated. Anything that is specifically requested on the ad, you must include it on your resume. And of course, use keywords. If you take away anything from this presentation, please, I ask you to follow these. Thank you for having me. This is the website here for PLNL if you want to check out our website. We also post all our vacancies on Caribbean Jobs, so also feel free to check Caribbean Jobs regularly. Do you have any questions?
Okay, great. Excellent presentation, guys. Excellent presentation. So we are moving now to the Q&A segment of the session. So I have some of the questions you all have posed, but I want you to go ahead and continue to put your questions in the chat, and we'll be passing them on to Ms. Kerr, and she's gonna answer them for you.
Should I go ahead and read them, or?
I'll read them out for you, Tira.
Okay, no problem.
And relax and let me know when you're ready to go. So question number 1. A student wanted to know, Tahira, what's the difference between a resume and a CV?
Okay, so a resume is most often what you use in the industry. A CV is a more detailed document, so it's not one page. It's more detailed with all of the information. So you would include all your CXC, CAPE results, all the details about you.
Excellent. Another question.
To have resume, to send a resume and not a CV.
Guys, y'all are listening. If they ask for that resume, you want to send a resume and not a CV 5 pages long. Yeah? Question 2, online tips have said to stay away from traditional methods such as Times New Roman and boring colors in inverted commas. Does this also apply to Trinidad's job market or only the US?
I would say in terms of font, no, we generally don't use Time New Roman so much. More of the fonts I would have mentioned, so like Arial and Garamond. In terms of colors, most of the printers or the printers that we use to print the resume, so we're printing sometimes 600, between 600 and 1,000 resumes. We don't often use colored ink, we use black and white. So if you use some kind of fancy color, it may not print or will print quite gray and be difficult to read. So I encourage you to use black. If you want to draw attention to something, you simply bold it.
Excellent. Next question. Do you have any resume advice for recent grads with little or no experience outside of their degree field?
Okay, so a recent grad, I would encourage them. So remember, I would have spoken about that other section. So if you do volunteer work, charity work, and any kinds of associations, I encourage you to try to develop in that area, because at least that you will be able to develop that area, that section of your resume.
Excellent. Are there any current opportunities or internships for mechanical engineering grads at PLNL?
Currently, no. So that ad that I would have shown you was a real ad. We hired a UV grad actually earlier this year. So our cycle is 2 years. So every 2 years, every 2 years, we cycle them. So we'll be recruiting again, not 2021, but 2022.
Hey guys, so you need to go ahead and keep your eyes out, keep focused for when that ad comes out. Just testimony, guys, that through the program, you can get hired for, at PLNL, as well as many other companies, yes, nationally and internationally. Does graphics include our use of color, for example? And I guess you sort of touched on this, but they want to know, for example, highlighting headers like education or year ranges such as 2016 or 2019.
Right, so it'll be similar to my answer before. I encourage you to use black and bolded. However, if you decide to use a color, you want to choose a color that's very deep. So like a dark blue, something that can be printed if it's printed on a black and white printer. Remember, we use a laser printer to print the volume, and most times it's black and white.
Excellent. The next question you also address, this is about the references. And as Tahira said, you don't need to include references or to say references available upon request, because employers understand that it will be provided if asked. What you need to do now is ensure that you begin lining up your references, preferably one academic and one in the community, any community engagement activities. And remember, guys, you must inform or ask the reference before you provide it.
Very correct.
Ensure,
Very correct.
yes.
Want to surprise the person, especially when it's a job. So if we're checking references, you're very close to getting the job and you don't want to surprise the person.
Exactly. Next question. If, for example, a job posting specifies a minimum GPA requirement of 3.5, but your GPA is 3.4, should you not apply?
Okay, I always say, you put your best foot forward, you apply. The worst thing that can happen is they say no, and then you are no worse off. So I encourage you to apply and keep applying, even if your GPA is a little bit below.
Yes, excellent advice. As we always say, students, don't say no to yourself. Don't say no to yourself, put your best foot forward and send that application in. Next question. Is there anything wrong with sending my resume if there aren't any official job openings for the position I'm interested in?
No. Actually, when I started, I went at that time on the Ministry of Energy and Energy Industries website. There was a list of every single energy company and contractor company. And I made an Excel table and I sent resumes to every single one. So yes, please send your resumes, even if you're not responding to a specific ad.
Yes, excellent advice there Tahira. Students, what she's saying there, be proactive. Be proactive, get down into that process and send those applications out. Are there any positions for biotechnology students at PLNL?
Biotechnology, nothing comes to mind immediately. We do have a lab analyst, and of course, they must be familiar with testing of materials. So perhaps in that section, but no, not specifically.
Exactly. So again, guys, listen for the strategies, those bits of information that Tahira is dropping there. In other words, when you're looking at the websites, as she said, get your Excel file together, and very important, focus on the skills that they are requiring and send those resumes in. If or internship experience isn't relevant to the specific posting you are applying for, should you still include it on your resume?
Sorry, Kathy, you broke up. You were breaking up a little bit there, so I didn't get the question.
Okay, sorry about that. Am I coming across clearly now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I'm going to repeat. If the work internship experience you have isn't relevant to the specific job posting you are applying for, should you still include it on your resume?
Yes, 100%. It's transferable. So in terms of you,
Exactly.
you would have perhaps say you're in engineering and you were placed in materials or purchasing supply chain, whatever it's called in that company. you would have picked up key things because they purchase equipment. You would be able to pick up things and learn, even if it's not related. So any interview, they would prompt you and ask you, the interviewers would be familiar with what you would have been exposed to and ask questions around that and to see your interest, your level of interest, and how you were committed into learning and transferring these skills that you learned there.
Exactly, transferable skills, guys. Next question, should a cover letter always accompany a resume?
Always, no, it's not required. It is optional, but it's encouraged.
Can you repeat that, Tahira?
It's not a requirement to always provide a cover letter, but it's encouraged. It's an opportunity to explain why you are the best fit for the job. Why should they hire you? Right? So it's an addition to your resume.
Excellent. What is the recommended resume length?
The recommended length, it's 1 page, but for sure do not cross 3 pages.
Good advice. What would you recommend for a student graduating with a GPA lower than required? How can they build their resume?
I would encourage them to do perhaps like a short project management course. Most organizing project management is built into the way we do things. Most times it's projects. So that would help and complement. So in an interview, the student can say, well, I have these extra skills and this is how I could apply it. Here's an example and really give an example.
Excellent. Is work experience with a family with my mom?
Sorry, I missed the question again. I don't know if it's my connection.
Yes, I can repeat it, not a problem. The wonders of technology. Is work experience with a family member valid? Example, teaching during the vacation period with my mom.
It is valid. Any experience is valid. Companies don't consider, okay, it's with your mom. It's what did you learn? What were you able to give? What was the result at the end?
Excellent. I was previously advised if doing a double major, I would need to create 2 separate resumes, one for each major. Do you recommend this as well, or is having 1 resume fine?
Okay, so in terms of resumes, there's no cookie cutter, there's no broad brush approach. However, if I was in that position, I would have 1 resume, but when I'm applying to XYZ job, I will customize that 1 resume to best suit the job that I'm applying for. So it will not be 1 standard resume to send out to everybody, no, but it will be customized based on who I am applying to, the industry, the company. I would customize my resume. And again, as I would have mentioned, using keywords and really speaking to the recruiter.
Excellent. Are things like being involved in scouts relevant to the other section?
Yes, yes, it is. Scouts, dance, if you were in Sunfest or whatever festival or anything like that, yes, include it in the other section. It really gives the recruiter the opportunity to see more than just the realm of academics or the realm of work to find out more about you.
Excellent. Okay, I think we have covered all of the questions. Okay, no, I'm seeing another question. Where do you include the education that you're presently pursuing on your resume?
Sorry, where do you include the education currently?
That you're presently pursuing.
Okay, so on your resume, in the education section, you would include it there, of course, in chronological order with most recent first, so it will actually be at the top. And for end date, you would put expected end date and whatever year it is.
Yes. I was previously advised that the cover letter is discouraged. I know we spoke about that before. How can I determine if it is suitable when applying to different companies?
Within the industry, I think it's standard if you're sending a letter, you include a cover letter, which becomes, say, a letter introducing your resume. So I wouldn't say that it's not encouraged.
Okay, great.
It's wrong. Yeah.
Thank you so very much, Tahira. I would really like to thank you for partnering with us to present this session on behalf of the university and the Division of Student Services and Development and our sponsor, Republic Bank Limited. I want to thank you for partnering with us to present this session. Please extend our gratitude to the company as well. Students, we got a lot of important information there about writing your resume. And in addition, she had some nuggets. Very profound is that strategy she passed on there. That Excel file that you develop with all the companies in the energy industry. So in your field, you go ahead and you find those companies, develop your Excel file, and you start sending out those resumes. She also said, don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself. It's a complete package the employers are looking after. Remember, Gaza Boy, if that's your email, just go ahead and change it now. First name, last name, and if you have a number behind, that's fine. Yes? Also, she gave you the sections that you can put on your resume. So we want to say thank you again to Tahira. Thank you to the students as well that came out, and please remember to share the information. So stay engaged and we will see you soon. Have a good day.